What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. And man, if I sound a little bit tired, that's just because I just woke up. I'm recording this on Tuesday, so I'm trying to record this, quickly edit it so that I can get it out for y'all. So hence why it's an audio only episode this week. This weekend I was very busy, obviously, because of Memorial Weekend. At Memorial Day, man, I ain't really do too much. My family was grilling, so I went over there. My dad made me my veggie burgers. I had a good time. I hope all of y'all enjoyed y'all Memorial Day and enjoyed the weekend. Look, I don't know if this is like a new trend or something, but on TikTok, like everybody was talking about going to the shore. And I mean, that's a normal thing when you're from Jersey, like people talking about going to the shore a lot. But like apparently even out of towners, out of staters, like people was like really talking about going to the shore. And from what I saw on the highway on my way to my parents yesterday, yeah, people was not playing about going to the shore this year. I don't know if that's about to be a normal thing where we see people from out of state just wanting to enjoy our beaches, but yeah, that was crazy. But regardless of that, I hope everybody enjoyed their Memorial Day and their Memorial Day weekend. But now back to our regularly scheduled programs. And today, as you guys can see in the title, I will be talking about the Lilo and Stitch remake and my thoughts on it. And also we need to address that ending. And I'm gonna tell y'all now, if y'all are part of the people in the narrative that Nani left Lilo or abandoned Lilo, look, y'all might as well click off my video because y'all are not going to like what I have to say. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm gonna save y'all the time. If you like that opinion, if you agree with that opinion, then you might as well click off. At this point, and I'm telling y'all this now, if you stay at this point, you are just looking to be pissed off with my review and my thoughts on this movie, because I'm gonna just come out the gate and say it. Yeah, I actually like this movie. As someone, and I'm 26, so I think the original movie came out when I was around like 4 or 5 years old. Like the movie, I basically grew up with Lilo and Stitch. Now, I don't remember seeing it in theaters, but my mom possibly took me to the theater because everybody when I was younger knew I loved movies. Even as a little kid, I didn't even fully understand movies, but I loved them so much. So I don't know if I ever seen Lilo and Stitch in theaters, but I do know that when it came on DVD, I know at some point I started having a Lilo and Stitch obsession. Like I was obsessed in Lilo and Stitch. I'm talking movies. I've owned every single Lilo and Stitch movie that came out, the original, the second one, even what was the one, Stitch the movie, which was basically like a start for the TV show. I watched the TV show like summers. I'm talking summers as a kid. Like, and I always tell people all the time, I never had a cable box in my room until like I was closer to middle school. So like my elementary school years and the summers came around. Every summer I was either in the living room or the basement watching the Lilo and Stitch show, House of Mouse, Kim Possible, all on Toon Disney. I was a Toon Disney kid. So yeah, I really loved Lilo and Stitch. And then when Leroy and Stitch came out, my mom bought that for me on DVD like after the show ended and stuff. And I'm just saying all of this just to say that I grew up on Lilo and Stitch. I loved it. It was made in my time. So, and that's the thing with this Disney remake compared to a lot of the other ones. I feel like there was more of a personal attachment for me when it came to this one, and that's why I was a little biased, because truth be told, when they do these Disney remakes, everybody gets pissed off about it. Truth be told, I never really care, because most of the time these are movies that came out years or even decades before I was even thought of from my parents. So I'm just like, yeah, it's like I don't really have no real personal attachment. Before this one, the closest that I had an attachment to was the Lion King remake. And that's just because, I basically watched the Lion King growing up a lot. Like my family bought me the DVD. So I always watch The Lion King over and over, but I feel like there's a different personal attachment when like the series is actively being made opposed to when the series basically started when, when way before you were even born. Or I won't say way before. I think the original Lion King came out probably like 6 years or something like that. Actually, let me look it up. When did the Lion King come out? uh Oh, okay. So yeah, The Lion King came out 4 years before I was even born, but still, the point still stands. Like that movie, there was that was made for 1994 kids or kids that could understand movies and stuff like that were actively watching movies. It's like, yeah, I was born in 1998, 4 years after The Lion King, but it's not like I knew what The Lion King was and I was actively choosing to watch it 4 years afterwards. I was a baby, but y'all get the point of what I'm saying. There was more of an attachment with Lilo and Stitch because I saw it and I grew up with that franchise. So when they announced this live action remake, I'm not gonna lie, I was very, I was very much looking forward to seeing this. Partly because of bias. It's like, yeah, I grew up with Lilo and Stitch. And truth be told, at least the live action remakes that I seen, I actually don't hate them as much as most people, tend to hate them. The only ones that I've really seen thus far is, if you want to count it, the first Alice in Wonderland, even though that feels more like a sequel than an actual remake to the Alice in Wonderland that Disney did. I actually enjoyed that one a lot, the one that came out in 2010. Then you got Aladdin. I actually enjoyed that one. Probably not enough to buy it on Blu-ray because as I'm making my collection, I never really thought of owning that one, but it was a decent one. The Lion King remake, honestly, look, I enjoyed it, but here's the thing. It was basically shot for shot. I mean, the only thing different is, and I know everybody's going to talk about the expressions. I wasn't looking for expressions when that movie came out. The only thing that was different is obviously the performances from the actors like Donald Glover and Beyonce. So, yeah, their performances wasn't as good as the original, obviously. So, if it's just the same thing, if it's just the same thing and the performances are just a little bit less better, which I actually do like the Lion King remake, it's just I didn't find it good enough to buy on Blu-ray. So yeah, that for the most part, I at least all the ones that I've seen, I'm not interested in seeing Snow White. I'm not interested in seeing Cinderella. Like I'm all these other ones that people complain, like The Little Mermaid, I was not interested in it. At the time the movie came out, one of my friends was very interested in seeing it. So if she would have asked me to go with her, I would have went to go see it with her. But just me on my own, I'm just not gonna care about all these other ones that people are complaining about. So Lilo and Stitch was the main one when they announced it. I was looking forward to. Not only that, but this was originally supposed to go to Disney Plus, and apparently like Disney, they loved the script so much that they were like, we got to push this to theaters, which is crazy because it's like, it's Lilo and Stitch, it's one of y'all biggest properties. I didn't even know it until recently, but like apparently Stitch is like big internationally. I knew he was big in the US because even to this day you could still go to like any random store and see, like, well, obviously now because of the remake, but even before the remake was even announced and stuff like that, you could still go to a store in America, like almost any store, and at least find one Stitch property in there. So I knew how big Stitch was in America, but I didn't realize how big he was in internationally. Like I knew he had the different animes, but geez, I did not know he was rivaling Mickey in terms of a Disney property, like in the international market. That's crazy. But I say all this to say that honestly, I really did like this remake. Now, to be honest, I'm saying remake for the sake of the video, but honestly, I see this movie more as a rendition because it hits a lot of the same beats, but especially in the second half, closer to the end, it really does start to do its own thing, which honestly, the way that they did it, I can respect. Like, I can respect, that they wanted to make changes because here's the thing. People complain a lot. And like I said, I've never seen the other ones. I'm only looking at what people say, but people complain a lot talking about, um, talking about that these are just the same movies over and over. Like, what's the point? We got the original. Why am I about to pay money to see the original just in live action? And that's the thing with this. And I know you don't necessarily have to agree with the changes. Like, asking for changes doesn't mean that you have to like what they do with those changes. So I get that point. But it's also just like, we complain a lot about these remakes just being the same thing over. What's the point? Hell, like I said, even the Lion King one, it was basically the same thing, and I already own the original, so I didn't see a point in owning both versions. I got the original. But with this movie, there is definitely enough changes to where I do kind of see them both at their own film. Like I said, I feel like this is a rendition, hits a lot of the same beats, and it tells the same story. Obviously, we mostly get the same A, B, and C, but I say that this stands out enough to where I would honestly own both versions. I did like this movie a lot to where I would own it. Now, to say this is better than the original, no, not even close. I did watch the original before I watched this version, and I wasn't trying to sit there and compare, but I can't help. Like, I grew up on the original and I literally just watched the original. So like I couldn't help but compare, but some of the jokes that they retold in this version, like one of the jokes that they retold was when Stitch stole, well, in the original, he stole one of Myrtle's friend's bikes, where in this version, he stole a kid's like drivable car, like the mini cars that kids be having. He stole that, and him and Lilo takes a ride around the island. This happens in both versions. They take a ride around the island, and Stitch is looking for something to destroy, and Lilo says something like, "Isn't it great living on a small island with barely any big cities?" Or something like that. She says something like that. And the freak out that Stitch has in the original, like, I don't know, the way Lilo said it felt a little bit better delivered with Stitch's, like, freak out after she says that. It feels more better in the animation version compared to the live action, which, don't get me wrong, the joke was still funny in live action, but it was more funnier in live action just because of Stitch's reaction, not because of both of them, like in the animation. So that's what I mean. Like, in this version, they do recreate moments and they recreate jokes and stuff. It's better executed in the animated version, but I still enjoyed, the things that they did in this live action version. Um, I guess to give some quick thoughts before I really get on the ending, which seems to be the most controversial point in the movie. Um, as far as the story, I mean, basically the same story. So obviously, I think it's good. The actress that played Lilo, the young actress, I know people hate this movie, but I really hope Hollywood gives this little girl a chance. Like, in my opinion, she did amazing as Lilo. I feel like I was watching like a real life live action version of Lilo for real when I was watching this movie. So, and also, I go to a lot of movies, and I'm not gonna lie, kid actors, a lot of the times, especially in like movies with serious plots and stuff like that, they are very hard to come by. Sometimes people don't know how to write kids. Like, either they're on the money, or either they're just completely off. It doesn't seem to be no in between when it comes to like these screenwriters writing for kids, which honestly, personally, me, and y'all know I want to be a filmmaker, I don't even plan on having really any kids in my movies because I know how tough it is. So I can, even though I'm saying that they do a horrible job, I can't really say I would do much better. But when you do find kid actresses like the one that played Lilo in this movie, you got to give her flowers. And I hope, despite all the bad reviews in this movie, I do hope she does go on to have a career. Um, the girl that played Nani, which I know a lot of people do not like, her being casted. And I'm not going to talk on that controversy because I don't really know everything about it, because I don't keep up with every single controversy every single thing gets, like the internet nowadays. But I thought she did a pretty good job. I mean, I don't really see everybody saying that she sounds like she's reading off a script. I've seen a lot of people say stuff like that, and I'm just like, I really don't see it, but okay. Um, and then of course, I think the director of the original movie, I think his name is Chris Sanders. whoever the director was of the original movie, he also voiced Stitch in the original movie, and they got him to come back to voice Stitch in this version. And of course, Stitch, his voice acting was amazing, of course, because it's his creator, doing it. So honestly, I think the acting was pretty much good all around. The only person that I really have a problem with, and this isn't just even for the acting, but this also goes towards even the only point of the movie that I would generally say that I hate, um, is Jumba. I really hate that they got Zach Galifianakis, who is usually a funny actor, and my favorite movie of all time is The Hangover. So seeing this guy that's known for being funny, and I've seen Zach Galifianakis in plenty of films, someone that is known for being funny, and you guys made him play the most straightforward villain ever. He still could have been funny, but still been a villain at the same time. They could have walked that tightrope, but at the same time, I wish they didn't make him like a full-fledged villain. Like at one point in the movie, well, I already basically went into spoiler territory. Jumba basically just goes around Lilo's house, just destroying everything. And there's like a room where they keep like Lilo's parents' stuff, and she tells him like don't mess with anything in there, and he knows that like it's personally attached to her, and he just shoots the door open and gets ready to destroy more things in that room. And I'm just like, and I literally said to myself, I was like, they turned Jumba into an like I literally said that out loud. Don't worry, I was in the comfort of my own home watching it, but they turned Jumba into a straight, bro. Like I don't know. I was very turned off by that. And I mean, here's the thing. I've seen the director's explanation of why they did that, and I've heard people's opinions for why they're fine with that. And here's the thing. It's not that I don't understand where that choice came from. It just, like I said, I grew up with this property. So to see this character, which I feel like most of the characters in this version kind of stay within to their general characterization. I'm not talking like changes like Cobra Bubbles, where he was a social worker and then in this version he's just a straight up CIA agent. I don't mean stuff like that. I mean like the personality of Cobra Bubbles is still pretty much the same. The personality of Nani, Lilo, and Stitch still feels the same from the original. Pleakley still feels the same, which unpopular opinion, everybody said Pleakley looked gross in live action. I thought he was a cutie. Like, no, obviously not like that, but like, just like how people were saying Stitch was cute. I thought Pleakley looked cute. Like, yeah, he looked a little slimy, but like, his big smile and like his bubbly personality, it's like, it was cute to see in live action. Um, yeah, so it's like all these other characters kept their characterization from the original, except Jumba. And I know people will say like, oh, but he's an evil scientist. But even in the original movie, he was an evil scientist, but there was still redeeming qualities about him, which made, his turn at the end not so, jarring or whatever. Like you could see like throughout the movie, he was still trying to be on his mission, but at the same time, he was also like, oh, Stitch is actually learning good. He's actually learning to care for things. And I feel like they could have toted a fine line with this live action version. First off, leaving Gantu out, I didn't like it, but we're here. I feel like they could have toted a fine line with Jumba. Basically, like he could have been the villain, but then it's like once he got Stitch from the house, or even when he was fighting Stitch in the house, there could have been a moment of realization where it's like, wow, this creation that I made that I thought really only was trying to destroy things, he's actually learned good. Like there could have been something. And I mean, the movie up to that point didn't establish any redeeming qualities in him, but this is what I'm saying. There could have been little simple rewrites throughout the movie to where Jumba could, and actually that could have been a whole conflict in itself, almost like a Prince Zuko type thing. Like he wants to achieve his goal, so that he won't be locked up by, the space police or whatever. He could have tried to achieve his goal, but then at the same time, he could have also been conflicted because it's like this creation that he made is like, oh, okay, so I see there is more to you than what I initially made you for. Like, y'all get what I'm saying? He could have been the main villain, but they could have also toted a fine line to where it's like, he wasn't just a straight up, like, he could have, but to make him like a full on villain, and they're already talking about sequels, which I'll get to that, but I guess there could be a redemption arc for him if they do make a sequel, but it's like, well, I'm not even going to say if. This movie made bank. Okay, this movie made bank, so they would be stupid. Not that I personally like sequels, y'all know how I feel about that, but not that I like sequels, but if they were to make one, man, they made bank. So I honestly feel like it's kind of stupid if they didn't make one. But yeah, Jumba's really the only character that I had a straight up problem with. Everything else was pretty decent. So that's pretty much my overall review. I'd already rated it on Letterboxd. I gave it like a 4 out of 5. If I had to give it out of 10, I could see myself giving it like a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, it hits a lot of the same beats, tells a lot of the same jokes, does its own thing closer to the end, which I respect, but the only thing I just couldn't get with for real was Jumba. And then of course the acting was good, but like obviously things were just better done in animation compared to live action, which that's another point that I need to talk about real quick. The people comparing the animation to the live action version, like especially the scene where they're surfing and stuff like that, and they're saying like, oh, the colors are so drowned out and stuff. Look, I don't know why we do that. I just don't know. See, when I compare a live action and an animation, I'm looking for more things that can be compared, like delivery, like I said, the delivery of the joke earlier. In terms of visuals, let's keep it real, bruh. It's never going to surpass, like, and I usually hate when people say like, oh, a remake or whatever can't surpass an original, but like in stuff like this, like the surfing scene, animation, there is things that can be done in animation that just cannot be done in live action. And I'm not even criticizing the surfing scene because I liked it in this version too, but I liked it for what it was as a live action shooting of it. But as far as animation, like I didn't, and I don't know. I just don't see how we can compare it. Like for this version, it was good for what it was, but did you really think animation, a very a very expressive art form that I feel like people don't, respect enough, outside of the film community. It's like, did you really expect the live action to really hold up to the animation in terms of that scene? And I'm just using that scene as an example, but like a lot of people have been complaining about how certain things just ain't the same in live action, which yeah, they're two different mediums. So of course a lot of the things ain't gonna be the same, but yeah. Um, so I guess with that being said, let me talk about my take on the ending, which I honestly don't have as much of a problem with it. Do I feel like there could have been a better ending? Yeah. And I'm not even saying the ending is bad, but it's like I just don't see the hate. And that's the one thing I love about seeing this movie before almost anybody else. I seen this movie early, and before like all the reviews came in, I was actively looking for reviews after I finished the movie, and there was barely any reviews. I don't know if there was like a review embargo up or anything like that. And I don't know if people just didn't finish getting out of the theater by the time I finished watching it, but like I was sitting there actively waiting for reviews, and I had to wait till the next day. And that's when I just saw a barrage of this movie is horrible. This movie, why did Disney do this? Why did they do this? Oh, why did Nani leave Lilo? Which, okay, here's the thing. You can have your opinion that this movie is not as good, But if you're using the argument that, oh, apparently Ohana doesn't mean Ohana in this movie, if you're using that argument, like I said, you can have your opinion that you don't like the ending. I don't have no problem with anybody saying that they don't like the ending. But if you say, if your reason for not liking the ending is Nani literally abandons Lilo and Nani, Ohana doesn't mean Ohana in this version, I got a question if you're just acting ignorant, if you're blinded by nostalgia, or if you're just stupid. It's got to be one of those three reasons. And let's break this down. Okay. The whole Ohana doesn't mean Ohana. Now, this is one fair criticism that I will give people. Because I only seen this version once. The one criticism that I've seen where I'm like, okay, that's fair. Well, first, let me explain this first. So basically, in this new version, they have like a grandmother character. Like, I guess it's David's grandmom, but David's grandmom from the she was not even a character in the original version. It was just David. But in this version, David and his grandmom, I'm assuming, live next door to Lilo and Nani. And basically, throughout the film, at various points, and there's even a point in the movie where she's not around, but at various points she kind of takes care of Lilo. She, encourages Nani to go to school, and even in the first 15 minutes of the movie, she tells Nani, look, I see what you're doing for Lilo, and I can admire what you're doing. This ain't word for word, but she's like, I get what you're doing for Lilo, and I can admire what you're doing, but Ohana means nobody left behind, and that even means you don't leave yourself behind. So she's not sitting here saying leave Lilo and go to school. Like, she's trying to encourage Nani to at least, and I don't take it as her just straight up saying like, for real, just get up and leave Lilo, but she's just trying to encourage Nani that, sometimes you really do need to think about yourself as well. And in this movie, at the end, and like I said, this character has been around pretty much for most of the movie. Like I said, there's like a little part in the middle where she's not around, but for most of the movie, she is basically there acting as, somebody to help Lilo and Nani throughout the film. Same as David, just like in the original. Like, there's people shown in this movie to help them throughout the film. And the valid criticism that I saw is, it kind of takes away Nani basically not having anybody in the original besides somewhat David in the original. So it's like, yeah, so it doesn't fully fit the found family narrative like the original did. And I mean, somewhat fair, but honestly, I still feel like I still feel like it fits the narrative. It just goes about it in a different way. But pretty much the end of the movie leads into Nani basically loses Lilo to the system. Like, or she does, if you want to technically she does give Lilo to the system, but their neighbor, like I said, the grandmother character who's basically been around pretty much the whole movie, she basically sets up a deal with the social worker to where they adopt Lilo. So basically she's living basically still at home in the same area. Literally, their Lilo and Nani's house is literally right next door, which is shown in the movie, literally walking distance. So Lilo is basically in the same area, and Nani still gets to go to school. And I can get somewhat people's argument. If Jumba didn't leave a teleport gun for Nani to always come back and visit Lilo, I could somewhat get it. I don't fully get it. I could somewhat get it if Jumba didn't leave it and Nani just left and, experience regular college life where like you literally don't get to go home, for like another 3 to 4 months because you're busy at college. I could get that. But we're talking a movie where the whole Ohana means family thing, people saying that this movie gave that thing up. Look, if a character is actively through the movie basically treating these two girls like family, and at the end of the movie she just decides, you know what, I'm just gonna get them out of this trouble, and I'm going. Which, yeah, it's a valid criticism. She could have done it before, but it's a movie, y'all. Like sometimes things just happen because it's a movie. Uh, Same with the original Lilo and Stitch, which I'll go back and I'll rewatch it again and actually take notes. And if somebody wants me to, and I'm that petty, if somebody actually wants me to sit down and write notes on things that just happened in the original, because it's a movie, every movie has a point. It doesn't matter what movie it is, almost every movie has a point where something just happens because it's a movie. We got to move the plot forward, we got to have a resolution. Yeah, she could have adopted Lilo any point sooner, any point sooner. But also, even if we bring somewhat of a real life aspect into it, it also does kind of make sense because in a way I'm also kind of like Nani, where it's like sometimes people do just want to try to do something on their own, and family doesn't necessarily step in until they see, like, okay, now it is the time for me to step in. So I can somewhat get why they took this approach, and I mean, besides movie reasons like why she did it at the end, I can also see why they did it, because it's like, in real life, realistically, there are some people that they know the help is around. For example, my mom, she always, now that I moved out, she loves to ask, like, Tevin, do you need help with this? Do you need help with that? And my response is always, if I really need help, I'm gonna come to you. But I want to try to figure this out myself. And I feel like if we're looking at it on like a realistic standpoint, then that's probably another reason. I don't know the writers and directors' reasons personally for why they made this character wait until the end. But sometimes that just happens in family where they see what you're going through and they offer the help, but they also see that you want to try to do it yourself, and they'll only step in when they seriously need to. So I can get it on that point as well. And I can also, it's a movie. So, like, of course, we got to tie everything up in a bow. The character adopts Lilo at the end. But on the overall point of people saying that Nani abandoned Lilo, it's not like she has a regular college experience where she's not going to see Lilo for months. Lilo and Nani is actively FaceTiming in the post-credit scene. Not only that, but the post-credit scene shows how she uses the teleport gun to see her sister whenever she wants. And it's not like, I can't imagine. Look, people are acting like Nani's gonna go off and live regular, like literally live the regular college experience where like sometimes you don't go talk to your family every day, or sometimes you're just so swept up in college life that like sometimes you forget to talk to your family and stuff like that. No, bruh, this movie literally sets up and shows that she goes back to see her sister, not even just her sister, but her boyfriend and their grandmom type character. She goes back to see them regularly. I don't understand this. How can we say abandoned when it is established within the movie? See, that's the part where I'm like, you might not like that they went about the ending that way, but you can't sit here and say that it still didn't fit the theme. Like, that's my main point. You can dislike the ending if you want, but don't sit here and blatantly lie saying that Nani abandons Lilo and say that it does not fit the theme. Those two are just wrong opinions. They're just wrong. It's not even factual. Like, you can say that you don't like the ending. You could say that that you wish that they stuck to the original ending in some way, shape, or form. Okay, like there's no problem with that. That's a valid opinion. Like, there's some people that do want the ending to end exactly the same way. But to say that it does not fit the theme of Ohana, which, yes, there is that little convenience that the grandmom character, I wish I remember her name, but there is that convenience to where she could have just done it the whole movie, but she just saved it for the end. I'll give y'all that. But that storyline still fits Ohana. And to say that Nani left Lilo when we actively see her visiting regularly is crazy. Like that's why I'm saying, like, you can have your opinion on the ending, but some of these things that y'all are saying are just actually factually wrong. Like, did we see the same movie? And I'm not saying that you can't like the movie, and I'm not saying that you don't have, like, that you're not valid in not liking the ending, but it's the reasons that you don't like the ending, and it's the reasons that you don't like the movie, to where I'm just like, I don't know if people are just ignorant, blinded by nostalgia, or just straight up stupid. I just don't know. But regardless of how anybody feels, this movie made bank. And I see people on Twitter talking about the Disney adults are ruining this. We're not supposed to be seeing this. Look, I know there's a lot of Disney adults in the world, but in order for y'all to complain about this movie, y'all had to have seen it in some way, shape, or form. And I highly doubt that everybody's seen it the same way that I did. For it to make that much money in the opening weekend, most of these people complaining had to have gone to the theater to watch it. And literally, my, like, on Twitter, I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this movie is horrible and stuff like that. So how did you watch it? Like, not everybody could have watched it that way. And y'all know what I mean when I say that way. In order for it to make that much money, which I saw a report that Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch made so much money this weekend. Apparently, it's one of the biggest Memorial Day weekends in film ever. So in order for this movie and Mission Impossible, well, people's not really complaining about Mission Impossible, but Lilo and Stitch, in order for Lilo and Stitch to make this much money, most of y'all that's complaining literally had to have bought a ticket just to go in and complain. So if you really didn't like, the idea of them remaking this, if you really didn't want to see this, why did y'all go pay to see it? Because now money talks. Money talks. Just like I said earlier, y'all might not have liked this, but there's so much money that this movie made. It'd be stupid if they didn't talk about making a sequel. Disney already projected that they were going to make this much money off the movie, and that's why they're already considering sequels. Which, let's go on to my next point, which is where are things gonna go with the sequels? So there was little Easter eggs of, like, the other experiments that Jumba made. Some of them was from the TV show. Like, there was dang, which one was Stitch's girlfriend? Angel, I think that was her name. The pink one that sings and I think makes people fight or something like that. It's been a while since I saw her episode. But they had Angel, Ruben, Leroy. Like, they showed little Easter eggs of the different experiments that Jumba made. So I'm guessing if they make a sequel, they're probably going to address. I hope they do, like, I know this is about to sound weird, but I hope they somewhat do like a Sonic thing where, like, not like they show a different experiment each movie and we get like a million sequels, but like if they do at least one more, I want to see Gantu as the main villain. If the sequel explores more experiments, then we got to bring Jumba back and give him a redemption arc. And I want it to be a mixture of Gantu being the main villain, the experiments, and I want it to be a mixture of Stitch has a glitch storyline. I don't know if they would actually do that, or maybe they might take two of my three ideas, but I hope if they could, they would do a mixture of all three, because I feel like that would actually make a pretty good movie. Like, Gantu and Stitch are both looking for different experiments that Jumba has. Gantu could honestly get Jumba to help him look, and Jumba could, like, throughout the movie, kind of like what I said here, he could honestly start to see, the good in Stitch and actually have a redemption arc. And Stitch, while also looking for these experiments, he could be going through his glitches like in the second animated film, or I guess technically third, but yeah, like, that's what I want to see. I want to see something like that. Yo, Disney, get me in the writer's chair. I will write this movie for y'all. I will write it. All those fans that hate the first live action, I'll get them on board with the second one. Trust me. I can do it. But yeah, I hope that's where things will go with the sequel if they do make one. If they're really trying to make one, then they kind of need to get on it because Disney. I don't know if you know, but kids grow up fast, and I think the girl that plays Lilo, I think she's 7 years old right now. So like, she ain't gonna stay seven forever. If you want to keep Lilo around that age period, like you need to hurry up before she gets too old. So, and that's the one problem. Like you guys want to make sequels to this, but Lilo, the actress is gonna grow up quick. So you guys got to get on that quick if you guys want to make a sequel. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on the movie. Like I said, 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it, or 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it, and I don't see the outrage for the ending. And I do want to say this real quick, and this kind of goes to the Disney remakes. See, I expected this reaction out of people when this movie came out, but I didn't expect it for the reasons that it had. Like the ending, I didn't like I said, when I finished the movie, I was honestly looking to see other people's reviews, but I didn't think that the ending would be a part that everybody honestly, when I was watching it, I said to myself, people is not gonna like Jumba. That's the part I said people isn't gonna like. But I never did I thought that the ending would be the main thing that everybody would be complaining about. But I'm not gonna harp back on the ending again, but I'm basically saying like these Disney remakes come out so often, they make so much money, and the main thing I want people to remember is the original is always there. If you genuinely feel like this movie is not gonna be good, and not just talking about Lilo and Stitch, but any live action remake from Disney in the future, because it's like a cycle at this point. They announce one, people get mad at the announcement, they put out a trailer. Oh, you know what? This one actually looks pretty decent. The movie comes out, people trash it for years, but it makes so much money that a sequel is made and people go. Well, okay, the sequel part doesn't apply to all of them, but it does happen time to time with some of these remakes. Look, no matter how you feel about these remakes, first off, if you really genuinely think it's going to be bad, do not spend your money to go see it. If for the amount of outrage that I saw, because there was actually there was a good amount of people saying that it looked like Lilo and Stitch was going to be good, and there was actually a good amount of people that was still ranting about the Disney remake trend and whatever. This movie should have not made that much money if y'all really felt that way. And no matter how you feel about the movie, whether you hated it, whether you liked it or not, the thing I need people to remember is the original is always there. The amount of anger that I seen behind this movie, especially on the internet, it's like, to me, it's just not worth it. Because say you watch this version and you really did not like it, there is no point of going on rants on the internet posting about it, because I see some of the same pages post about it multiple times. There is no reason to post about it multiple times when just go watch the original. It's just that simple. I don't see why we got to put so much time and energy into it when the original is there. And that's just not applying to Lilo and Stitch. That just applies to a lot of these Disney remakes in general. And like I said, if you guys are tired of them, stop paying to see them because they make money. They're some of the biggest movies when they come out in theaters. They're some of the biggest movies. A lot of them winds up being number one in the box office. So it's just like, I don't see the correlation here to where if people are really this tired, why do they keep making this immense amount of money? So yeah. Like I said, man, if you stuck around this long and you hated the ending, then I mean, you just looking to rage bait, but like, or not rage bait, but you're looking to be angry. But I like, this is the Hate It or Love It podcast. You might not like my opinion. You might hate it. You might love it, but I'm still willing to build dialogue. So just as long as y'all ain't on no crazy stuff, like, leave your opinions down below. Did you like this movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? where do you think things are going to go if a sequel is made? These are things I want to talk about. But yeah, yeah. With all that being said, Tevin Jameer signing out. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.